It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to another rousing edition of Topic Thunder. I'm Brooks. That's Ben. You might be watching us on Twitch, on the Facebook, on the YouTubes, all that fun stuff. And we thank you for doing so. This is what we call the most interactive internet saloon, I guess. Right? We're fond of that phrase.
Thunderdome.
And the Thunderdome, which is the world's most dangerous chat room. So we'll be saying hello to everybody. If you're new to the show or just kind of flipping through the Twitch and seeing what we do here, we lay out a whole bunch of stories, a whole bunch of topics, and you guys clap back about it, which makes it Topic Thunder. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait. So and in accordance with show tradition, the pre-show conversation was absolutely fantastic. And anybody that has any interest, I guess Ben was telling me about you said Paramount Plus, the Dream Team 5-part documentary series.
Indeed. It is very good. Definitely should go out of your way to watch it. I have an issue here.
Oh, so we're having a little bit of issue. I'm not. So we're just gonna kind of plow ahead with this wonderful drink that, if you're not familiar with the show, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gigi's Mixology Lab, where the wonderful and ever clever Gigi goes ahead and makes a drink. I know not what's inside of it until I taste it in front of you guys, and then we give it some Brooks Bolts, which coined by one of our the Denzians of the Thunderdome. There she is, CJ Mino. So thanks for being there, Courtney, too. We're gonna give this a shot as Ben is doing some furious producer engineering work. So here we go.
I'm trying to figure out where the problem is, because my almost 3-year-old son got into my office unbeknownst to me and spent the better part of 10 to 15 minutes in my office before anyone realized he was in here. And now the audio is not working properly. I can hear it in the background.
All right.
Oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. Hold on. It's because I was watching TV in here.
Oh, busted.
Yeah. So I just blamed my almost 3-year-old son for something that is not his fault at all. It was 100% my fault.
Wow. All right. There. Hey. All right. So yeah, we have musical beds, and that's just musical bed. To find out what this is.
Horrible father.
Oh, and we and cheers to that. But yeah, gosh, is that like rosé?
That looks very. Is it brown or red? Does it look?
It's more of like an orange, or do you say orange?
Okay, yeah.
Orange.
Nice little stirry thing in it. That's cool.
Oh yeah, the disco
orange.
ball.
Okay, it is orange. Oh, look at a disco ball.
Yeah.
Did Gigi steal that from somewhere?
Be dancing. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So probably then oh man, I'm forgetting the name of it. It's happening a lot lately, folks. It's like an orange liqueur, Contru, and the rosé. There's something white, Cointreau, and no rosé. That's the name of my second autobiography.
No rosé.
No rosé. No rosé.
A follow-up to your
Aperol. Okay. And then there's something else. There's always something else in Gigi's Mixology Lab.
Got to be something more, right? There's got to be something to give it a little bit of a fizz or something.
Russian nerve agent.
Prosecco.
Okay. All right. All right. Cool.
Here we go.
It is
the only thing about give it how many Brooks Bolts.
This is another solid 4. It's a good drink. I would order another one. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel it'd be controversial if it's anything less than a 4 at this point. I feel like you can't if it's a 3, there's gonna be like you'll get like the side eye later that night.
Side eye.
Right?
I'll be Johnny Depp on the stand.
You'll be shitting on your pillow.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
These things happen, folks. In your mid-40s. Don't ask. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very, very cleverly titled segment we call Headlines, where we discuss headlines. And boy, there's a lot.
Pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward. We got to keep it simple for us, folks. We're just simple little things.
It has something to do with y'all. It has everything to do with us.
Simple creatures here trying to figure out this complex thing we call world and life. And let's just start because we don't have a big, so we're just gonna roam free in the pasture here, folks. Here we go. Headline: did you hear this? Twitter accepted Elon Musk's buyout deal.
That is incredible to me. I can't believe this is a real story, Mike Brooks. I can't believe we're here. We're at this point, and this is a real thing that Elon Musk is buying Twitter out of nothing more than spite.
It does seem like a vanity project, doesn't it?
It's no different than going to the fucking moon or going to fucking Mars.
Is it any different than Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post and assorted media?
No.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right. Is it any different than, Microsoft having, I don't know, a lock hold on just about every computing piece of software everywhere in education, business, government, military?
As someone that I follow on social media, Robert Reich, posted, this is what oligarchy looks like. And we talk about oligarchy in terms of Russia, right? Here, and we'll get into Russia later on. I heard there's a gooey middle of this show, as what I've been told, with some Russia stuff. But but we talk about that's an oligarchy there. There's a few guys that own all of the important pieces of business in that country, right? And they benefit greatly, and they become very wealthy, and they use that wealth to then buy more companies that make them more influential. It's just a vicious cycle, and it is not good for the middle class for an oligarchy to exist. And that's where we're headed. This is where it's full blown now. This is and there is some good that may come to Twitter from Elon Musk taking over Twitter. There really is. Like some of his things that he said that he's going to clean up bots. That's a good idea. Say what you will about this idea. That's a good idea. And if he can do that, that's actually a positive. You could say that's a positive thing for society to get rid of these bots that we know are spreading disinformation.
I'm glad you brought it up because outside of the general headline and the deets that he spent $44 billion, which he had to go and secure financing for. But again, does that
multiple different banks, which if we can pause on that for just a quick second, when I heard that multiple banks loaned him the money for this, how does the value of Twitter go up if it's no longer a publicly traded company? He then has to turn around and resell it for it to be a positive investment for him. How did these banks go along with this when the idea is there's no way someone else is going to pay more than $44 billion for Twitter?
Mark Cuban actually tweeted about that it would, he literally said it would be big dick energy if Musk took it private, made all these changes, drove the price up, and then spun it off and then just flipped it.
I mean, that's probably what he's trying to do, but I would question, will it be worth more than $44 billion ever? Is Twitter ever going to be more valuable than it is now? I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. It's how could it become more of the social fabric of our country right now?
Oh, well, part of the problem with the price is too, like who else is going to overreach the stock price by But I think when he put the initial bid in, I think it was like $47.50 a share, and he bid at 54.5. So you already came in $7 over, and if it closed anywhere anything other than what it was valued at the time. You
Yeah.
overpaid as part of a hostile takeover to get this. So
And he paid, and for Courtney talking about he makes millions a day. I did read that part of the deal was part of the payment is in Tesla stock. So he leveraged Tesla stock in order to get this money. So there is that too. Like what if Tesla suddenly collapses for some reason? Right? The whole thing, like then Twitter collapses, and like it is a huge bet on his part.
it's
And
a huge hedge. Absolutely.
I just don't see how he makes money, a huge amount of money on this. That it is and that leads you back to what you were talking about originally. It's a vanity thing for him. This was how big, like big dick energy. Like he's throwing his nuts on the fucking table and saying, "I'm this dude. I'm that big that I can go ahead and do this." And it on some level that's impressive, but on another level, it's just furthering us towards the oligarchy.
And maybe everybody's talking about Twitter right now, but if nobody's there to buy shares, then the value there is no talking about value. It'd be what the investors and the board then have to say about it, right? Because you're not gonna be able to buy any more shares of Twitter. He just literally bought them all. He bought them all.
Yeah. One other
So-
thing to point out before, I don't know how much this other
Oh,
story.
yeah, no, let's park. It's fine. The
Worth
show's built for
pointing
that.
out, I think it was the United Nations said that you could end world hunger with
Right.
$6 billion. And Elon Musk said, if you give me a breakdown of how you could do that, I'll go ahead and do it. And the UN provided him with that breakdown. He ignored it, then went on to get a loan for $44 billion
He bought Twitter.
to buy Twitter. Could have ended world hunger with $6 billion. Decided not to do it to buy Twitter. That's all you need to know about where we're at as a capitalist society. If the alarm fucking bells are not going off for you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what more it will take.
Mr. V.
Comeback. Yeah, Michael V.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining the community.
I don't know what more you need to have the alarms fucking be sounded for you. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, we've already gone over his rap sheet, or I guess it's not his money. It is literally a South African apartheid time emerald mine that gave his family his money.
Plus government subsidies. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Government. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. Apartheid government subsidies. Right. Too. But he got rich here in America by a bet with Peter Thiel for PayPal, and then bought Tesla, and then has been literally the only thing I think he started from scratch was SpaceX, and I could be wrong about that.
I think that's correct.
That's the only company, and hey, that's a hell of a claim to fame in and of itself too. You were able to launch a rocket to space, and it's able to land upright, that alone, like, standing take a bow. But okay, he's a smart guy, but do you think he can run Twitter, Tesla, and SpaceX? In addition, Business Insider had, I guess, his 4-point plan for improving Twitter. The 4 points: loosening content moderation. So the first name everybody thinks about is, Trump, right? But what does this really mean? Because it's not going to be Elon Musk sitting there behind a computer going, no, lift a band hammer, lift a band hammer, lift a band hammer. And it wasn't the CEO or the board or even like any executive making these decisions on who to ban. It was managerial level for sure. But there's a whole division of people making decisions about content and who signed the TOS and who's breaking the TOS. So what are we talking about here with loosening content moderation? Are you going to open it up so people can post all kinds of hateful, spiteful shit, child porn, rape? What are we talking about here?
Yes, we know there will be a line, right? There has to be a line. But it'll be curious to see where his line will be.
All right. Step 2, he wants to make the algorithm open source. which is
I saw this. What a
wild, because what that means is opening up the code that basically puts whatever that social media platform puts in front of your face. Ever wonder why you end up talking at the break room with somebody about like, oh, I was going to get an XYZ cooler, we're looking at, and all of a sudden you start seeing ads on your phone for coolers while scrolling Facebook. That's part of the algorithm. That algorithm is like accessing your microphone for one, but like then taking that information and putting it in. What are you most likely to like? Where are you most likely to go seek out? The ramifications of that, again, this is the type of data that Cambridge Analytica was after. And
so when you make it open source, it allows people to then abuse that data.
They are able to see, and part of the open source thing is alter the algorithm. That's so everybody knows Windows, everybody knows Apple, the operating systems, but there's Linux, right? Linux is what they call an open source platform that at its very base form, and there are flavors and variations that are locked down, but in its very base form, Linux is what they call open source code, which means everything that operating system is, line of code by line of code, is accessible to anybody.
Okay.
So if we wanted to make there's a very famous version of Linux called Red Hat, and it was a little penguin with like a red hat on. And if we wanted to make a Topic Thunder Linux version, we could alter the code for whatever we wanted to do, whatever we wanted to do, and then just say, this is the Topic Thunder, relock it down. If you want our Linux, it's going to cost you nothing. Here, have it, whatever. But it's open source. So you put that code out there for people to alter, view in a transparency, I'm trying to say I can't talk right now. That's just Aperol, conspiracy and transparency at the same time. To be more clear about what they do and how you see these things, you open the code up. But people can inject things. People can go. It's just weird. It's almost
it's solving one problem with opening yourself up to another problem. That's what it's saying.
And this is a quote from Musk as to why he would do this. Quote, I'm worried about de facto bias in the Twitter algorithm having a major effect on public discourse. How do we know what's really happening? I don't know. Most people check multiple sources. At least I thought before 2015, people check multiple sources on things before, like, raising pitchforks.
Yeah,
but here,
unfortunately, isn't happening. Yeah.
No. Number 3 on Big Elon's plans to improve Twitter.
You kind of spoiled this.
But it's very interesting because that is like one of the most things. Like everybody would be like, yeah, get rid of the fucking bots. They cloud up conversations, and there is a chance to have actual discourse and conversation on the platform. What kind of bots are we talking about here? Because all you ever hear Elon Musk talking about with the bots is crypto spam bots, which famously use his picture and face. Mm-hmm. He's never said anything about the bots created by a hostile foreign intelligence agency or multiple. So what kind of spam bots are we talking about? On the surface, it sounds great, but he would be able to go those bots, not those bots. But then the flip side of that, he says he wants to authenticate every human being. Well, how do you do that?
Yeah, I wonder, how do you?
How do you authenticate every human being? Do I have to reply to something? And then fourth, adding an edit button so people can go back and correct their faux pas, and we'll have less of the somebody on my staff put that tweet out that clearly called for insurrection or racist, homophobic, xenophobic.
When the actual spirit of that is, I misspelled something. I want to go back and spell, or I used the wrong there and want to go back and correct it. That's the essence of what the edit button is. But you're right. But here's the thing about that though. You can go back and try to scrub it, but the internet always has receipts. Always. There's no scrubbing. Once something goes out there, it's out there, and I don't care if it's out there for a second. someone in the Twitterverse saw it, saved it, and you are fucked. There is always going to be receipts. So this doesn't change that, although it does make it a little bit better that you can change your grammar and change your spelling. I do like that aspect of it. So it's one of those things that he's saying a lot of the right things. Like, I don't really argue with any of these things, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just the whole idea of one guy being able to borrow billions of dollars to buy Twitter when there's just so much else that we need done in this world that just rubs me the wrong way.
It should, if you have any sense of morality, ethics, and just and then have the grasp of the absurdness of this level of money. And yeah, Ryan Hansen, in fact,
Right. Yep.
yeah, right on. Yeah, that kid, I think, stopped tracking Russian oligarchs and started or did the reverse, was tracking Elon's private planes, but then started tracking Russian oligarch private planes when Russia just stopped into their neighbor in Ukraine for tea and biscuits.
Listen, there's no doubt that he will censor things. There will be things that will be censored on Twitter. It's just, what are those things? And it's probably going to be a lot of Elon Musk related things, like you pointed out. He's going to be able to control the narrative about himself with censorship, and under the guise of, well, everything else, don't look at that, because everything else is, you could say whatever else you want. You just can't talk about me. You know what I mean? It's, I don't know.
But like we were talking about, Mr. V, like, what are we talking about moderating? Are you going to give up moderating, some of the terrible and seedy things that happen in society?
Right, there will be a line, right? It's just, again, what is Elon's line? Because you can't have child pornography. We know that. You're not going to allow that to be spread on Twitter. We know that's going to be a line. But is there a line shorter of that? That'll be interesting to find out.
And what, something we'll be tracking, of course. Something that we should be tracking as it sinks is Mexico City.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. This is from Wired.
Is segments where we fucking terrify people with some sort of natural disaster. Is this our weekly terrifying natural disaster situation?
Just a little wake up that we live in a hostile environment that we're really comfortable in, because we can sit here and talk to a whole bunch of people via a whole bunch of cool technology things, but we don't understand the ground we're living in or the sky we're living under. Ain't that the truth? Mexico City could sink up to 65 feet due to a phenomenon called subsidence. The metropolis's landscape is compacting, and parts of the city are now dropping 1.5 feet each year.
Is that a problem? Is that a long-term issue?
When Dario Solano Rojas moved from his hometown of Cuernavaca to Mexico City to study at the National Autonomous University of, that's a great name for a university too, the National Autonomous University of Mexico, the layout of the metropolis confused him. Not the grid itself, mind you, but the way it was built. The environment seemed to be tumulent, like it was a surrealistic painting. What surprised me was that everything was kind of twisted and tilted. At the time, I didn't know what it meant and what it was about. I just thought, oh, well, the city is so much different than my hometown. Different, it turned out, in a bad way. Picking up the study of geology at the university, Solano Rojas met geographer Enrique Cabral Cano, who was actually researching the surprising reason for the infrastructural chaos. The city is sinking big time. In a recent, it's the recent. I'm sorry. This drink is really fun. It's the result of a geological phenomenon called subsidence. When basically when you draw too much water up from the ground, well, the ground's got to go somewhere, so it collapses in on itself, right? And yes, it could drop 65 feet in the next century and a half. Now, if you're thinking, okay, what's 65 feet in 150 years? It's a city of like over 20 million people that live in.
Right. And it has impacts on a number of things, shortly.
It's 20 inches a year they're expecting now. So, and that's at least parts of the city. So that's how they can extrapolate out. There are parts outside of Mexico City proper that could sink 100 feet. It's literally what
This
they
is all
call.
from pulling water out of the ground.
I am sure just probably building where they, yeah, obviously not knowing what the aqueducts were like, or truly like let's face it, we just kind of we do things and don't ask permission and just think it's better to apologize later, right? So we do that to Mother Earth all the time.
Right. Unfortunately, when you do that with the Earth, it has long-term fucking consequences.
So Mexico City's sinking. So just another just little sweet reminder that maybe we should just pay more attention to that than Twitter. And again, maybe that 44 billion could save Mexico City. I don't know. But yeah, let's shift our eyes somewhere else. Let's shift our eyes to something I wanted to bring up. I saw this and warmed a little part of my heart because these two next stories have to do with my mother's home country of Poland. And specifically how Poland's been probably the best silent partner to Ukraine in this entire time. The story, while just on its surface, is just an innocuous tit for tat political. You're going to close our embassy and kick our people out. Well, we're going to close your embassy and kick your people out story until you get to the very end when you have a Russian diplomat saying this about Poland. And this made me proud. Quote, they are projecting this image of the most unfriendly country towards Russia in NATO, in the EU, and in Europe. And he was specifically mentioning Poland. And maybe here's why. For the first time ever, a NATO power has on the record stated they are sending heavy artillery in the form of tanks to Ukraine.
Really?
It was Poland. And in the most cool, coy, yeah, we're doing it, we dare you to do something about it way. The Polish prime minister, who I'll try to say his name, Minister Morawiecki, because in Polish, the W is a V, said this about the idea of having given tanks. I lost the quote, as always happens here, right?
Time to pull it up.
Excellent. Sorry, lost a quote, guys. In an interview, the head of the government confirmed reports that Poland donated or will hand over the tanks to Ukraine, but at the same time refused to disclose the exact number of equipment. I will not talk about it today, he said. We will pass it on in time for the sake of the safety of our Ukrainian neighbors and friends. Poland's asking you to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
They really are.
Right. They're saying, yeah, let's take this to the next level because we're prepared.
And unfortunately, the Russian counter to that will just be just going to nuke Warsaw. Unfortunately, that's probably where it goes. I wouldn't think that the Polish people are, or at least the heads of government aren't aware of that. But let's just talk about that little Russian excursion over into the special military operation. Into Ukraine. And some of the consequences, right? Because we all know the death toll. We've heard about, again, the death, the executions, and now we keep hearing about more and more mass graves found in Mariupol. Apparently, that is just a nightmare on earth right now. But we talk about the consequences. We've talked about oligarchs getting sanctioned. We've talked actually about Anonymous hacking Russians, right?
We have.
I found this great little article from The Intercept that kind of told the extent of the hacking in gigabytes. So it all basically comes from this website that started right about when it actually became famous when George Floyd was murdered by police in Minneapolis, because it released the results of a hacking of the Minneapolis law enforcement and U.S. law enforcement data overall. It was 270 gigabytes posted to a distributed denial of secrets collective. It's a transparency collective that they just publish stuff. They're like, we just publish it. We don't do it. We just publish it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like a cooler WikiLeaks, right? So this collective becomes the platform for anti-Russian hacktivists, right? And the hacking began in February, just 2 days after the invasion started. 200 gigabytes of emails from a Belarus weapon manufacturer was put on the website. There you go. I want to tell you, just think about it. Okay, think about what a 200 gigabytes of emails is. If you told me that we're
I don't know. I'm not really good with understanding that whole giga meta whatever byte.
So if I saw a 4 megabyte email come across to my desk, I'm like, who the fuck is sending me such a big goddamn email? What's in this?
And that's 4 megabytes. Okay.
That's just 4 megabytes. That's a gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes.
Okay.
Right? So 220 gigabytes of emails is huge when the average email is probably like half a megabyte. If that, that's a lot of typing, and somebody's using fonts and colors, and their signature is obnoxious. But the list goes on. A couple of days later, a Ukrainian security researcher hacked a company named Conti, who is a Russian ransomware gang, and leaked 2 years of chat logs and training documentation, hacking tools, and source code from the hackers. In early March, the website published 817 gigabytes of hacked data from a Russian federal agency responsible for monitoring, controlling, and censoring Russian mass media. If you're keeping up,
Ryan Hansen, this is a good one too. A 2.5-hour movie is about 1.2 gigabytes.
Right. And again, like, so it would be kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte. Your average email is probably 120 kilobytes. It's tiny. So that's a lot of emails. Can't stress that's a lot of emails.
Yeah.
The hacks continued in mid-March. The website published 79 gigabytes of emails from Omega Company, the research and development wing of the world's largest oil pipeline company, a Russian state-controlled company. In the second half of March, hacktivism against Russia began to heat up. There is a ginormous list. 5.9 gigabytes of emails from a Russian investment firm, 110 gigabytes of emails from Mash Oil, a Russian firm that designs and manufactures equipment for drilling, mining, and fracking. 22.5 gigabytes from the Central Bank of Russia. Whoa. The source of this data is the persona, the Black Rabbit World on Twitter. I wonder if Elon Musk likes them or not.
Right. I wonder if they'll be suddenly going away.
Another 2.5 gigabytes of email from the another Russian construction firm. 15.3 gigs from Rosatom, State Nuclear Energy Corp. That's a Russian state company that specializes in nuclear energy and makes up about 20% of the country's domestic electricity production. Oh, that's just March. On the first day of April, the website published 15 gigabytes of emails from the charity wing of the Russian Orthodox Church, which is a trip because the leader of that church, a guy, I think his name is Krilly, it would look like an Orthodox bishop if you picked a picture of him. He's got this big, crazy, long Gandalf beard, and he's former KGB. And if you Google his name and watch, you'll find that Russians love these oligarchs and well-oiled politicians love their watches. Apparently, he was caught with a picture wearing a $30,000 watch. Again, we're talking about somebody who's claiming to be pious and right. Orthodox Christian, right?
Surely it was just a gift.
Well, then the Russian media scrubbed the photo and photoshopped the watch off his wrist.
No way.
But in typical Russian fashion, didn't scrub the reflection of the dude's watch in the well-polished wooden mahogany desk he was signing on. You literally see the reflection of the watch still.
Wait, hold on. Now I feel like we got to bring that up.
Go ahead. I'm going to give another, I'll keep going here because we're not done yet. On April 3rd, the website published a whopping...
Sorry, what was the guy's name?
Krilly. He would be the head of the Russian Orthodox Church.
How does he spell that, with a K-R-I-L?
Yeah, something like that. K-I at the top of my head. So yeah, a whopping 483 gigabytes of emails and documents from the state-owned corporation that provides expert services to business community in Russia. 786 gigs of documents and emails from All State Russia television and radio broadcasting company. How about that now? It's a treasure trove of data that they had no way. In following days, another 244 gigabytes of emails from an office building complex in St. Petersburg they call Petrovsky Fort, which that is like, every city these days wants to have these like tech hub incubators where they'll bring in a bunch of startups and like get all these creative people talking and get them all to share space. This building is like one of those things. I think I see your face lighting up. You must have a great picture to share with us.
I found it. Yes, hold on. This is hilarious.
So there's no way the Russian, I don't care how great a strategist Putin may think he is. There's no way anybody expected. There it is. If you scroll out, there's the reflection of his watch.
So right here, you can see that they edited off of his wrist the watch. But in this very well polished, there's clearly right there.
What is reflection of watch? Anybody answer? Because this list goes on.
It's crazy because the Russians are so smart. They're smart enough to know that they need to cover up. But at the same time, they're the worst at covering up for themselves. They always leave something that's just like an amateur would know better.
Right. Like, can you at least be professional?
My 15-year-old son would know how to cover his tracks better than the Russian government.
That's why it's like, no, that's why for a long time, it was hard to take it seriously, right? And then a lot of pundits and people on TV were like, the Russian military, they're well coordinated. They learned in Syria how to coordinate air and ground and sea strikes and how to do urban warfare. Like, this is a big problem for Ukraine. And like, we know it's horrible to be in Ukraine right now, but it's worse to be the Russian military. The losses are staggering. The morale has to be terrible. They're doing horrible things to innocent civilians. And they've lost on just about every tactical level you possibly could. Your 3-day special military operation is almost approaching, if not already surpassed 60 days. So, yeah, to think that somehow, like, yeah, they've got their shit together. But that's what happens when you strip all of the money and good people from a country, because people are our country's greatest resource. But if all you're doing is getting people to a level where they realize the game is like, there's no punishment for me selling all the ammo and fuel from my regiment because I'm the general and I'm making some money on the side, because that's what happened. It's comical. It will go down in history as a study of what a professional military should never operate like. Because it's amateur hours, so it's tacky and it's non-professional. Thank you, Billy Wack. Well, let's talk about the unintended consequences, right? They thought they're literally going to swoop in, swoop out, and a couple days later, everybody was going to be like, "Wait, what happened? Oh shit, you own Ukraine? Okay, cool." So again, 2 months in, there's some pretty interesting things happening on Russian soil, including large fires breaking out at Russian oil depots. This is the Russian state media. Reports fires at civilian and military depots in Bryansk, which are potentially an act of sabotage by Kyiv. Large fires broke out this morning, Monday, on 2 oil depots in the Russian city of Bryansk, less than 100 miles from the border of Ukraine, within a potential act of sabotage by Kyiv. I don't know why they keep saying that, because I'm sure it's still under investigation. But let's go. It's the Guardian. They're usually pretty right on. Russian state media said that the first fire occurred at the civilian facility holding 10,000 tons of fuel, followed by a second fire at a military fuel depot holding 5,000 tons of fuel. Again, less than 100 miles northeast of the Ukrainian border, it served as a logistics base for Moscow's military campaign in Ukraine. So even if it were some act of sabotage, sure, it's a strategic value point, right? And it's hard to say like, the Russians did it themselves to escalate, because first, why would they do that in that vein, right? That you're literally crippling your efforts to refuel your
Right.
troops at that point, right?
Yeah,
And
that would be super foolish.
and the Russian government's been priming us for weapons of mass destruction use, either nuclear, chemical, or biological, right? By claiming that, hell, they put out a nice little graphic that I think was the Russian Ministry of Defense that highlighted to the world stage that the United States was the only one that ever used in combat like all three forms of weapons of mass destruction, pointing out the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the chemical weapons that we used in Vietnam, and then the phosphorus weapons that we used in Iraq. So, okay,
You can
you're
understand why
right.
there are segments of the world that look at us when we want to play world police and say, "Who the fuck are you to tell us what to do?" And that's a great pointing out. Like you put it on a fucking graphic because that's all accurate information, right? That's not a lie they're making
No,
up about the United States.
absolutely not. It just has absolutely zero fucking anything to do with Russia attacking Ukraine.
Sure, right. But if you're trying to make the enemies to be the enemies, you
What
gotta
you're doing is saying, well, that guy did it, is what you're saying. That guy
right.
did it. And
Which
you're
anyone who's ever had multiple children knows that is not an acceptable excuse ever, right? Well, he got to do it. Why can't I?
mhm,
That has never flown in any household in the world.
ever.
At least if there's any good parenting going on.
Well, that's because here's the thing that the kids don't know and don't realize until it's far too late is that you were once a kid too, and you said and pulled the same shit. You're the fruit of my loin. You don't think I said that? Get the fuck out
Right,
of here. Go clean your room.
right, exactly.
So, just something to keep an eye on it because it'd be really interesting if Ukraine starts to escalate this into Russian territory because they're not ready for that. Let's just put it like that. Vladimir Putin's training 11,000 troops for a May 9th victory parade. Look it up. That there are planes flying in the.
Hold on, say that again. I was kind of distracted over here trying to get the next story up. What
So,
did you just say?
so May 9th is what they call Victory Day. It's when the Russians reached Berlin and they claimed
Okay.
freedom, right? So he's literally probably their best troops. 11,000 troops are training to march. You know, in those big military parades.
Right.
Yep. And these pilots are flying in formation a giant Z in the sky, like you see on the sides, which by the way, the Nazis did. They flew in formation in a swastika above rallies and such. So just a panel of the page from history. Another story about explosions, but not to be confused with Kyiv and Ukrainian sabotage. There were blasts in Moldova's security HQ in what they call a breakaway, or read pro-Russian region called Transnistria. It's lost on me, folks. But yeah, and
Article limit, those motherfuckers.
with Reuters, oh yeah, I sign up. It's not a very long article. However, this is a security headquarters in Russian-controlled or pro-Russian area of Moldova, which again used to be in the Soviet Union, and was the absolute pretext for the occupation of Ukraine in 2014, was to go in and protect pro-Russian and Russian ethnics in the scope of violence by, at that time, Ukrainians. And now I'm sure they're going to spin it and say, well, it was the Moldovians that don't like Russian people, so that's why they attacked us. Just watch out, because Russia does have bigger eyes than just Ukraine. They want all of southern Ukraine. They want to cut it off from the sea, and they want that seaport in that particular spot of Moldova. Bet on it. Book it. Call your bookie.
Book it.
I wanted to follow up on the really weird reports of Russians relocating Ukrainians, because the Russians admitted it this time. This is from the Russian Ministry of Defense has said, and this is their quote, this is what they said. They have in the past 24 hours, without the participation of Ukrainian authorities, 16,838 people were evacuated to Russia from dangerous regions of Ukraine. Quote that goes on to say, there have been already since the start of the war 951,329 people, quote, evacuated to Russia from dangerous parts of Ukraine. That includes a whopping 175,000 children.
That's a lot of people.
Enforced relocation, deportation, and they're going to the wildest, most crazy parts of Russia. And I'm talking like the very far east of Russia, the places that you wouldn't want to go to, parts of Russia.
So am I to understand that these people are Russian sympathizers? They agree with Russia on this, or because clearly, if they were pro-Ukraine, they wouldn't be being relocated inside of Russia. Or is it the flip side, which is this is almost like the Nazi kind of thing, where they're taking these people and they're putting them in places like Siberia and these horrible places to live under the guise of they're refugees. That's the latter, right? That's the suspicion.
They're taking everything from these people, including identification, cell phones, and basically who knows what, but just throwing them into these situations and being like, "Hey, welcome to Russia." All right, so I have my eyes on a story regarding this because I find a number of children staggering, and I've already started to see some ideas percolating that Russia has a population problem.
I'm sorry, what?
Russia has a population problem, that it has a declining population, which then when you put that lens over the forced deportation of Ukrainians into Russia, especially, again, a staggering number of children that will surely be adopted out to Russian families and probably never told of their Ukrainian heritage.
Sure.
That kind of put a different lens on it. So I'm still working on it. I don't have any concrete evidence. I'm sure there's ways to do this, and I haven't looked fully into it. But to be honest with you, that's why I keep bringing this story up, because I find it fascinating that they're legitimately trying to. If it was like a fishing pond, they're trying to restock their fishing pond with human beings.
Wow, that's the way to look at it. Fuck, that's crazy when you say it that way. They're restocking the pond with human beings from another country.
So next is a little bit of a video from MSNBC. I know, and it's a Rachel Maddow show. So we'll look out. Here we go.
I like this guy though. The guy that's on. I've seen some stuff with him. He's pretty intelligent.
Yeah, and just nothing more than just a casual update on some of our Russian friends that may have had a disagreement or so with Vladimir Putin, and what happens when you do.
Suicide are unfortunately common things around the world, but these cases deserve a little bit of context. USA Today put out an incredible report back in 2017 in which they documented 38 cases of prominent Russians who had died suspiciously in the previous 3 years. They included 10 high-profile critics of Putin, 7 diplomats, 6 associates of Kremlin power brokers, 13 military or political leaders involved in the conflict over eastern Ukraine. 12 were shot, stabbed, or beaten to death. 6 were blown up. 1 died of mysterious head injuries. 1 reportedly slipped and hit his head in a public bath. 1 was hanged in a jail cell, and 1 died after drinking coffee, end quote. The other 16 were reported as either natural causes or unknown. The Committee to Protect Journalists says that in the 22 years that Putin has been in power, 25 Russian journalists have been murdered. A whole bunch of them apparently just fell out of windows. On April 10th,
apparently the echo is bad, and I forget how I fixed this before. Fuck.
That's not a problem. The article kind of covers the sudden departure from this mortal coil. People who have a disagreement, or perhaps a little bit further with Vladimir Putin. And this now was on the heels of this weekend. 2 more oligarchs found dead in Spain as like one family member who went to town for whatever and came back and found all their relatives brutally murdered. One oligarch was stabbed to death, one hung himself, and again they were in their Spanish villas. So just another reminder, just the brutal regime that is, and never should you ever tolerate somebody being kind to the regime. The Russian people, sure. The Russian culture and history, their heritage, absolutely. Swan Lake, Tchaikovsky, let's do it. Babushkas, love it. Vodka, I'm a fan. Bloodthirsty, oppressive, nihilistic regimes, not a fan of. So, and anybody that is not your friend. Let's not mince words. Anybody praising, I'm looking at you, Tucker Carlson. Anyone praising the actions of Vladimir Putin is a fool and a traitor to democracy and the free world. And I don't mean to sound like a big time pundit or anything like that, but he's as close to a Nazi as you could publicly get. And he's in control of the country.
Yeah. And he also wants you to. He also wants men to sunbathe their balls.
Tan your nuts. We should put that video on one day and just see what happens. But yeah, it's a crazy thing. Well,
You can watch Tucker Carlson and shake your head every night at like just the most preposterous shit that comes out of that guy's mouth.
And what's even more interesting is how much Russian media takes those clips and presents that to their audience as the American viewpoint.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I bet.
Oh yeah. No, it's great. It's fantastic. They'll do it with Tulsi Gabbard when she opens her traitorous mouth too. They're like, they call her their girlfriend. There's one particular show on Russia Today.
Our show headline writer with a great one, Taint Tanner.
That's my favorite Tanner of the Tanners, right?
All yes.
Full House X.
Yes, Taint Tanner.
Taint Tanner.
Right there.
Yeah, you never saw them on the show. That was afterwards.
That was the other uncle that they didn't talk about.
Speaking of getting weird, let's just get weird. All right, let's just really get weird.
This is the weekly case of Brooks pointing out how nature is fucking terrifying.
Not only terrifying, but smart, because these male spiders catapult away to avoid being cannibalized after sex. An act of acrobatics keeps males of the one orb weaving spider species from becoming their mate's post-sex snack. After mating, males catapult away from females at speeds of up to nearly 90 centimeters per second.
Gotta go.
Researchers report in April 25 of Current Biology. Other spiders jump to capture prey. Think about this. Others jump to capture prey or avoid predators, but this guy avoids being eaten after sex by catapulting away. And the article goes on to describe a little web contraption that he helps kind of get him out of the danger zone, right?
Gigi with the cool.
That chick's got problems. just letting you know, the lengths we go to not have to be eaten alive after sex. You think you got problems? Yeah, say Oreos, please.
Oh man, I would figure out a way to get out of fucking Dodge pretty quickly if I knew being cannibalized was what was happening next.
Just like that, they emphasize the word catapult in that situation. I think that gives it the necessary, gotta get the fuck out. You know, too. Like, boom, business, bounce. Speaking of eating,
the true wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely, you gotta web out of here. Speaking of eating, right? Here's a really big, long, and exquisitely worded research paper that I'm sure a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into and really love for us to read the whole thing. However, I'll fall asleep. So I'm just going to break it down. Here's the title, and it's a word salad. The dose-response effects of consuming high-fructose corn syrup sweetened beverages on hepatic lipid content and insulin sensitivity in young adults. What's the abstract? Increased hepatic lipid content and decreased insulin sensitivity have critical roles in the development of cardiometabolic diseases. Therefore, our objective was to investigate the dose-response effects of consuming high fructose corn syrup sweetened beverages for 2 weeks on hepatic liver lipid content and insulin sensitivity in young 18 to 40 years adults with a BMI of 18 to 35. So they did a bunch of MRIs pre, during, and post of what these people's livers looked like after consuming 3 different levels of what they call high HFC, high ejaculation catapult. All right. You got me there. You got me. All right. I'm starting to think of the stage show and everything. I gotta focus here. So what they did is they're basically trying to correlate. Do high fructose corn syrup beverages contribute to diabetes? The answer may not shock you because it's a resounding yes. Absolutely, it does. And it does 2 things, right? It increases unnaturally the fat, the lipid activity around your liver. And then it decreases your body's insulin level, which then makes your pancreas try to make more insulin until your pancreas goes, and needs help making insulin, making you a type 2 diabetic. So, ever wanted to know, what's all this diabetes stuff? Well, it's what we drink. And that stuff's poison.
Change over to flavored sparkling water. It's much better.
Until we find out what's wrong with that. Then you change to the next thing. And it's just, again, science.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a guinea pig for no vaccine. I don't know what's in it.
If aspartame is a problem, then yeah.
How about Aperol? Yeah, buddy.
But I'll say this. I lost a bunch of weight, and I've been able to keep off most of it by really, really restricting how much soda I intake. So there's something. I know that's true.
It almost is like it's almost like mixed berry. Like they probably misspelled berry, and it was like mixed up berry.
Is a mixed berry.
Mixed berry. It's like, oh, we can't call it that. They'll be on to us. Well, what do we make the A and E? Nobody will know the difference. We'll make trillions. You're a rich man, Lawrence. That's the way I see that going. But hey,
I've never heard it put that way, and I've never thought about it. But you're 100% right. What is a mixed berry? What is that? Is that when they combine blueberry and strawberry and other berries like blackberries?
Not at that level, because the word berries always followed by the word flavor. It's like raspberry flavor, blackberry flavor. And what does that mean?
And Gigi, you're right. There's a number of communities that don't have access to good food, right? What they have access to is the corner store, which has nothing but fucking sugar and drinks,
Absolutely. And being the lowest lane that she is, she actually donates money monthly that goes to a charity that serves food deserts, they call them. So she not only walks it, she walks it. And it's a big deal in underprivileged and underserved communities is the access to good, fresh, quality foods. So yeah, it's chips, it's cheap bakery, mass-produced bakery goods. It's a lot of sodas. It's a lot of the juices, right? It's not on It's not on accident, right? It's on purpose. If you just look and you look at the demographics of the areas that are. That's just the way it is. It's one of the problems.
As I read her, dollar stores make millions by setting up in these communities. Start thinking about it. Just here in town here, where the dollar stores are located, are generally in the poorer parts of town.
I think the people of my old hometown of Lockport, Illinois, threw a huge fit. No, it was. It was actually Homer Glen. When there's a Dollar Tree wanted to move in, pitched a fit. Oh, it's going to lower property taxes. It's going to be blah, 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 blah. I mean, not going to lie. It was a white, moderately middle upper class area. So it was like if you told somebody that a rapper was going to move in next door, you would have thought the same thing when the Dollar Tree came knocking for a permit. So there's something to be said for that, for sure. There is a pattern to that. Yeah. Couple of quick things, but and then we'll get to the world's the most famous segment of the show that my father has never heard. We talked about the French election that happened on Sunday, right?
We were worried that the very Trump-esque, Putin-loving candidate was going to be possibly elected, right?
We were very concerned about that, as were several other candidates on the world stage. Luckily, however, Emmanuel Macron won re-election. He was like the first French president to win re-election like ever. So that goes to show you a couple of things, I guess, right? That somebody who's moderate to moderate left can kind of get just about everybody. Joe Biden. But also, like, a lot of people, I sent Ben a picture. We were kind of doing a chat about this, and there was a poll done on French TV that basically said, why did you vote for Macron? And it was because I believe in Marine Le Pen's platform, or it was because I think
the two options were because he would make a good president.
Thank you.
Or to block Marie Le Pen from winning.
And the results of that poll were, Ben?
91% to 9%.
Voted to block
Marie 91% said they voted to block Marie Le Pen from winning.
So
and I find this extremely fascinating, Brooks. And Michael V, who was in the comments earlier today, he and I had a conversation about this privately. Because he and I have been talking about the upcoming American elections, the midterm elections, and the fact that the Democrats may very well get slaughtered because of things like student debt relief not being as total as Biden had promised. He hasn't really come through the way that he promised on that. And my argument has been that if those people that are if you're unwilling to vote at all, if you're willing to sit out the vote or vote Republican because you didn't get the student debt relief that you hoped, that is, in my opinion, cutting off your nose to spite your face. You're not looking at the bigger picture, which is if you turn over power back over to the other side, there's a good chance you may never get it back because they're not playing fair. They've made it very clear they don't intend to play fair. The way that they handled the Supreme Court nominations tells you all you need to know about if they were to get back into power, what they will do, right? And his opinion was that those people that they have the right to sit out and be that angry. And I don't deny that they have that right. I just say you get what you get if you're going to be that short-sighted. And what, in my opinion, what I say is short-sighted and saying, I'm not going to vote, or I'm going to sit out, or I'm going to vote the other way. And I'm talking about the people in the middle, the independents of the world, the people that are in the middle and could go either way. If you're either going to sit out or vote for Republicans, you get what you get. Because what I think is on the other side is far worse. To wrap this back around to the French thing, the French people, I feel like in this situation, looked at the bigger picture. They weren't short-sighted about this and said, because you got to understand, there were massive protests in France against Macron and his handling of COVID. He was massively protested against. That's why last week there was some thought that Marie Le Pen might have a chance in this because there was such an uprising, an uproar about the poor job that Macron was doing, in the opinion of many.
For sure. And to be fair, every president in a democracy got protested for their handling of COVID because it was unprecedented and nobody handled it perfectly, right? The only people that didn't get protested were the ones that would have killed you for protesting.
True that.
Right,
True
but I
that.
just I say, but that fueled the fire, right? There was a percentage of Trump voters that voted for Trump because of his handling for, and there's a bunch that wanted to vote for Trump but lost a family member to COVID and were like, I gotta vote for Biden because I love my family.
Yeah, and so you have this situation where they clearly enough people came out because it wasn't really close. He won handily. Is the kind of the easily, and handily is the word that I have seen describing his win.
It's like 58 to 41%, I think it was.
And he had the same approval rating that Joe Biden does in our country right now, going into that election. So that's not to say that Americans will do the same thing. In fact, I don't really have a lot of hope that Americans will look at the bigger picture. But
you have a problem with that.
We do have a problem with it because it's culturally we're different than everywhere else on the planet, right? And we have this selfishness, for lack of a better term, this individualism that has been bred into us that makes us incapable of going. I may have gone out and protested against his handling of COVID, and I may not like this Macron guy, but I look at this other one and I know authoritarianism when I fucking see it. And I know that guy's a problem. I know that side is a problem. And if that side gets into power, we got bigger problems than the mishandling of COVID. We have that same situation here, and I don't feel like Americans will look at it and handle it the same way.
It's voting for the lesser of two evils, which, again, stressing that the person that's at the top of the ticket is there because of the people that you didn't know the names of, that you just kind of either didn't vote for or just guessed when you were voting down the ticket, because that's why local elections matter. That's why state and federal level elections matter, is because that support for other candidates that have those views that you do, for student debt relief or immigration reform or refund, defund the police, whatever that issue is for you, they're there. Those people are there. And it's never, voting's not about winning, right? And unfortunately, our election system sets it up to where it's about winning. The French election, actually, this was the second round of presidential voting. Yeah, there's a first round. So you got to win that first round. You got to come out of the first round. Speaking of tournaments, you got to come out of the first round and then you go on. So it's almost like, we have primaries, right?
Right.
It's kind of the same
but
thing.
It's more on a national level.
And they're 2 weeks apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So those rounds are just two. We do the primary and I don't know. Fuck, when is it? August, June, July, and then campaign all the way to the fucking November. They get it done pretty quick. So good to the French on that one. Here's an alarming trend, though. Marie Le Pen, this is the third time she's run for president, right? In 2002, her first try, she got an 18% share of the vote. In 2017, she got a 34% of the vote. This year, she got 42% of the vote. And this is a really interesting tweet, too, because 28% of France's voter absentee rate, that's the highest in 50 years. So, again, we're talking about the people that are like, I don't care, basically, and didn't vote.
So it was the highest amount of people
that didn't vote in 50 years.
That out. That's interesting. So there were a lot of people that did just sit it out, but still Macron won handily, and most of those people did it because they just didn't want Le Pen to win.
It's just the wrong side is on the rise there. There's a trend growing, right? But also think about this. Their absentee rate is 28%. That's the highest it's been in half a century.
Yeah, what's ours?
It's over 50%.
No shit.
The percentage of people that vote in presidential elections in America is is less than 50%.
Yeah, because wasn't it a big deal that like 60-some% in this last election? The Biden Trump election was the most, right? And it was something like 80 million, wasn't it, or
So
something?
think about it. 72% of France showed up for this election. And this was the highest absentee rate they've had, and 72% of the country showed up to vote.
With that perspective, it even more reinforces what I was talking about, right? Like they didn't there while there was the most amount of people sitting out, a large number of people actually did show up to vote, and the data is showing the post voting polling is showing that the overwhelming 91% of the people polled said they were doing it just to stop the other person from winning.
Pure spite.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
All right. I'm going to actually, you know what? We got another follow-up story really quick.
Yes.
We have to, because this is like our guy, not our guy, but our guy.
He has become our guy in a way, like a punching bag, if you will.
We're talking about Mads. We're talking about Maddie, good old Maddie Cawthorn over there, caught wearing women's lingerie in public. Now let's make it a policy of the show and be very clear about this. I have no problem with any human being wearing anything they want anywhere they choose. Now, if you're going to show up to, my McDonald's naked, I'd prefer you didn't. I'd ask you to, shirt and shoes for service, please. But if you want to get a little kinky, you want to wear a nice dress, you want to wear a kilt, you want to wear some pantyhose, some lederhosen, you want to we want some makeup on, cool. We have no problem with you. That is Topic Thunder policy.
Yeah.
However, we know how Cawthorn feels about this. We know how the Republican base feels about this. And what this tells us is that he thinks this is funny. And that he thinks this is comical, that sometimes people dress what we consider cross-gender, right? But he is. He is an agent provocateur for sure. But there's nothing wrong with being a drag. In fact, sometimes it might feel comfortable for you. Maybe Mads is finding out that
I'm sure that, and he has come out and said that this has kind of been taken out of context, and I'm sure it is on some level. But for a guy that his whole one of his main pillars is hyper masculinity, to have something like this come out, it opens him up to be poked fun at, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with poking fun at Madison Cawthorn, but I do think that this is probably taken out of context. As he was probably drunk at a bar one night, goofing off, trying to impress these girls that he was trying to fuck, and they were like, put on our lingerie, and he was like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, that's it is.
Hey man,
yeah.
I've worked just as hard to get laid in a bar, and I've traded shirts with a woman at a bar. This is a true story. It's a true story. Why not? Who cares? I get that, man. I get that part of like having fun and let loose. You a couple of drinks in you, and it's all fun. I'm cool with that. But when you start telling other people that type of thing is wrong, immoral, unnatural, and you want to punish them and you want to put them in front of the executioner, you got a problem. So Madison Cawthorn, thank you very much. You're becoming a friend and fan of the show for sure. Our guy. We look forward to all of your future endeavors.
"Quote unquote try to fuck."
He just does.
He does, whether you like it or not.
Right before we get to the lightning round, I want to share my current obsession, ladies and gentlemen, is like basketball TikTok, and I'm showing it to you via Twitter, which is even better. But I can't get enough of it, especially when it's a girl schooling guys that think they're going to do the opposite.
It was a regular hoop session until this happened.
There you go. Perfect.
Splash. Splash.
And the talk, that separation is killer.
No threes. She can't score threes. Who can't score threes? Splash.
She does it again in his
Steph
face.
Curry on the Raptors.
Nice pick and roll, pick and pop.
Where are you at?
Same spot. She's got a spot.
I like your team. Splash.
No rim, nothing. Not using the backboard. Beautiful. Basketball is one of those games. It is one of those games that if you are good at it in a recreational sense, you could school people. Absolutely.
Or the local YMCA, if you will.
It's like golf. There's very few sports that you can, like, as a out of shape or maybe a mismatch in a gender role or something like that, you could truly dominate. But basketball is for sure one of those.
Yes.
My obsession with basketball Twitter and TikTok shall continue. But for now, you're here for the lightning round, the number one segment on the show that my father doesn't listen to. And it's pretty simple. 3 stories enter the Thunderdome. 1 gets read, and that story is chosen by you, the Thunderheads in the Thunderdome, the world's most dangerous chat room. So, ladies and gentlemen, as the SS Rapapa sets sail, we will not dilly-dally, and we're going to bring you 3 headlines, starting with number 1. Home that sold for $805,000 comes with stranger living in the basement. Headline number 2. Wisconsin couple electrocuted while using dangerous art method popular on social media.
Okay.
And headline number 3. Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister of New Zealand, greeted by giant sad dancing kiwi fruit during visit to Japan. And we're going to let that all sink in. As we say, put that in the old bozo computer and make a decision as I reread you headlines number 1, 2, and 3, starting with headline number 1. Home that sold for $805,000 comes with a stranger living in a basement. Headline number 2, Wisconsin couple electrocuted while using a dangerous art method popular on social media. And headline number 3,
Leave the Wisconsin people.
Prime Minister of New Zealand is greeted by giant sad dancing kiwi fruit during visit to Japan.
I just want to see a picture of that. So I don't know what number 1 or number 3 seem to be the ones, because I'm only voting for number 3 because I want to see the picture of the giant kiwi.
Oh,
That's really the only reason I want to do that. The other one, though, number 1, the guy living in the basement. Oh, here we go. Guy on the couch, Electro Fun, worst mascot ever.
Ma Jordan in for a vote. We got a vote in from Amy Cleaver. Ryan
Number
Hansen
2,
chiming in.
Number 3 with getting a vote. So we've got across the board. Number 3 winning so far. Kiwi Dancing.
Kiwi Dancing. Yeah.
My album. That's the second album I come out with.
Kiwi Dancing.
That's right. That's the disco album that will come out. Kiwi Dancing.
Kiwi Dancing. Yeah.
I'm something.
All right. Enough of me doing any sort of
What are you
Gibbs
doing
song.
the middle of this week? We need to record that.
What are you doing later? All right, we're looking for a couple more votes here just to round out the voting. I think we've got
I think Kiwi Dancing's gonna win, which a house comes with a person in it? That's amazing. And then Wisconsin, leave it to Wisconsin. What is the because I don't think we're gonna get a vote for that. What is the online art method?
Oh, actually, Courtney voted for that story.
Okay, so maybe we'll get another couple of votes.
But
I'm curious.
again, just really quick as votes are, I'm sure, being tabulated and pouring in. Headline number 1, home that sold for $805,000 comes with stranger living in the basement. Headline number 2, Wisconsin couple electrocuted while using a dangerous art method popular on social media. And headline number 3, the Prime Minister of New Zealand is greeted by sad dancing kiwi fruit during visit to Japan. Make your votes known now, because otherwise we're going to declare a winner. I think we already do have a winner, because I don't know. I'm just looking at the numbers right now. And I don't mean to Chuck Todd this whole thing and fuck it up, because there might be votes coming in. But I think we have a winner. And that winner is number 3. Ben, I'm going to wait for a couple more.
I have the Kiwis.
You've got it. It's better than a picture, Ben. It's the whole goddamn video.
Oh, you have that.
Yes. Let me send this to you.
Yeah, I got it.
You got it. It's from The Guardian. But I'm sure. Yep.
I got it.
So we have a winner for this month, or this month's. Man, if we were doing monthly, I'd have a whole bunch of Mondays back, but then we wouldn't have these conversations. And I look forward to these things. So I wouldn't be able to share things like this. Hello, Prime Minister of New Zealand. Welcome to our country.
Oh, look at those
sad kiwis. They look like they've seen somebody being strangled to death.
Right. Like, what the fuck?
Like they're just in shock. Like, there's nothing happy about that. There's nothing welcoming, warm, inviting.
Why are the Kiwis there at all? Like, it seems unnecessary that they would be there.
So this is the perfect living embodiment of like just
funeral
misunderstanding the culture.
It is like a funeral without a casket. It's a funeral for a living person. It's weird.
It's not only that, for a foreign dignitary, the head of state from a different country.
That's actually what the inside of my brain looks like.
It's just the craziest way. Like sometimes it's like, you know, an honor guard or like a poet laureate or, you know, somebody playing the national anthem of said country. In this case, it's a couple of dudes in some foam kiwi outfits,
just swaying back and
with some terrible doctor's office waiting music behind it.
Yeah.
Or like the end credits music for like a really sad British documentary or something.
Yes.
But damn, did they get this one wrong?
Oh man, yeah. Swing and a miss.
And bless her heart, we don't have her reaction because she's fantastic. She's actually we've shown video of Jacinda before on the show when she was literally giving a live press conference and an earthquake happened, and she was like, "Oh, I think we better get the shelter," or you know, however that New Zealand accent played out. Sometimes, you know,
not like that.
yeah, well, you know, it's live. It's live, and we didn't have time to work on it. So maybe next time here on Topic Thunder, I'll get a female New Zealand accent down for you people. But in the meantime, we just want to say thank you for listening, for participating, for being here. It's a big deal. It's nice. It's a cool community we kind of got, and we're still trying to see it grow. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to Ben for running the board over there. Thanks again to you. It was Dangerous Chat. Thanks to Gigi for a lovely drink that certainly did its job. And
Yes.
And we'll be back next Monday with more Topic Thunder. So again, ladies and gentlemen, setting sail from the SS Rapapa. This is Brooks saying thanks for everything. And Ben, thanks for everything. Losing my train of thought here as we say goodbye. Because I'm trying to stretch, try to hit the post.
I know. We're almost there.
Awkward.